Our second speaker will be Landy. Di is from Ponaki, Wellington, New Zealand. She is a co-founder of Mana Wāhine Kōrero. Mana Wāhine Kōrero were consultants for New Zealand First, Winston Peters, a political party that in New Zealand that was standing against the gender borg in the recent New Zealand election. Di has been on Reality Check Radio a few times, and she recently spoke there about prisons in New Zealand. Mana Wāhine Kōrero have done submissions on a number of bills. Di is very concerned about children in state care. She is concerned for the rights of the child. Children's rights is why she's in this fight. Di is a grandmother and soon to be a great-grandmother and has a spoilt ginger cat. Di will speak about their upcoming event, Voices for Children, which Mana Wāhine Kōrero is holding on the 31st of October. And she will talk about children in care, as well as the harmful effects of medicalization and indoctrination of children into gender ideology. Kia ora, Di. Welcome.
Oh, kia ora, everyone. Thanks for having me on your panel. As Janet said, I'd like to address the children in care, state care. In New Zealand, we have 4,500 children in state care, and that's in different models and styles of housing. So whether it'll be residential care, foster care, it's not called that anymore, of course, it's got another name. Foster care, in private homes, or boy-girl institutions, and then they also have a justice arm. And statistics that will surprise no one, 93% of those in the justice arm are male, which doesn't really bode good for any kind of future, in my opinion. Oranga tamariki are the child catchers over here, and they have a captive audience. There's nowhere these kids can escape to. I was reading some of Jan Rivers' research about the rainbow stuff that's infiltrating everywhere, as we've just heard. They just keep interviewing themselves. It's not balanced, fair, or just research or recording. It's like asking Dracula to look after the blood bank. And so they're saturating these children that are in care with the rainbow teachings. And so what that means is to make auxiliary products, which are the binders, the makeup, the clothes, the electrolysis stuff for the hair removal, tucking tape, and guidelines for the boys. So these are all to be made absolutely, totally, 100% available in the first instance. At the moment, Oranga Tamariki are advertising for affirmative only Māori practitioners, and where Mana Wāhine Kōrero are concerned, this is all just hogwash. This isn't our culture, and it's been done under the guise of the treaty. We completely disagree with it. The reason I'm worried about these kids in care is that, and they're recording the stats a bit differently now from 6 months ago. So 57% are Māori, 11% are Māori and PI, 6% are PI, and 26% are Euro and New Zealand, Europe, and other. Whereas I only used to record Māori and PI, not Māori and PI. So, I'm just ever so cynical. So I think that's quite, oh, yeah, what are they trying to hide with this? These children can't escape it. These children are traumatized. How do traumatized children resist the love bombing? I don't know how they're going to, because it feels good, and Lord knows these kids need to feel good, but it is a real concern. I mean, they have social transitioning houses in Porirua, of all places. Of the youth justice facilities, 45% are female and 59% are male. And again, the Māori stats are up, 57% Māori, 11% PI and Māori. The stats repeat themselves. It's our child catchers are an awful mess. I believe they're the feeder to prisons, because 85% of children that have been in care do end up in prison or homeless or both. We've had 22 workers removed this year, 46 complaints, and that was June this year. Only 28 were referred to the police and only 3 charges have been laid. So something's kind of not adding up to me. These children are, they're really, really, really vulnerable. And we've also got this culture thing happening over here. It's happening in Aussie as well. Yours is called The Voice, ours is called co-governance, and everything's all, the state is changing what being Māori actually is, and the language is changing. They're changing the language. And when the state changes the language, all meaning is lost and the depth of the meaning is gone. And so this is just happening. Like, if you read all these documents, everyone says, under Te Tiriti o Aotearoa, New Zealand, every single one, they're doing it in our name. And Mana Wāhine Kōrero go, no, this isn't us. We never did this to our people. Leave our kids alone. Stop breaking families up. And, they're removing kids unnecessarily and leaving kids unnecessarily in dangerous environments. There seems to be no, I don't know where the adults are actually that are running this department, because it is a bit of a mess. They've spent $104.2 million. I have little faith in the department, particularly now that the rainbow's infiltrated. And as we've heard, it's the usual method. Only a handful of people know what's happening. By the time it hits the ground, it's well and truly in there. It's well and truly in. So I don't know what can be done about it. When we have WPATH and PATHA, like from 1979 to 2000, WPATH said no to puberty blockers on youth. Right up until 2000, it was no. They're unproven. We don't know what's going to happen. And so I don't know what happened in 2000 to change it. I think it must have a ching to money to it for that big change, because it's just gone full assault. And these children are captive. They do not have an option. They don't have a choice to not be exposed to this. And then the children that do not trans or become non-binary or any other magical unicorn being, they're being brainwashed into these crazy untruths. How do children unlearn the stuff that they're being taught, that boys get pregnant and girls have a penis, and that you're neither born a boy or a girl? How do they unlearn this? Where did it get that children just can't play because they're children without being labelled that they're the opposite sex? It's total madness. So Mana Wāhine Kōrero and Turfs Across the Water, we're doing a Voices for Children rally at Parliament on All Hallows Eve or Halloween. It kicks off at 11:30. We have a variety of people speaking. We've got from feminist groups, women's groups, gender critical groups, groups of faith. I just can't quite read my handwriting, sorry. And parent groups are speaking, and we're also going to have men speaking in the last half hour. Women will always speak first because we have lost everything. I don't think people quite understand when we say everything, we actually mean everything. From our naming rights to all our spaces. But so I think all these children that have parents and support in the community, they have that support. The kids in care don't have anyone, and a lot of the time they're going to come out to not even their whānau or family. And so there's no one really speaking up for them as such. And then the state's pushing it through. So, and then there's also part of me that thinks because of the birth certificates and the marker's been changed, how many of these children are going to go missing to sex trafficking because of the system? That's been on my mind a bit with these. What do you mean? What do you mean a girl? There's only boys here. So, it's very dangerous. We all, 99% of kids given puberty blockers end up on wrong sex hormones. We know this, and the damaging, and that's why it's so important to have these rallies. It's great to see New Zealand parents are starting to wake up. I think there's been 5 or 6 in the last month of different groups around the motu, all around both islands, of parent information evenings. I do think we can thank Kelly J. Keane for that. It peaked half the rest of New Zealand. Those that weren't peaked certainly soon become peaked. And then finding out what the RSE is happening is happening in the RSE, and it's very hard to get out of it. And because there isn't a blanket system to do it with everything. So like we've got a Malin Bay primary that pronouns are compulsory. And then we've got a teacher who's lost his job because he wouldn't do the pronoun game. It took Mangawhai Head School over 18 months to get to the board and to get it taken out. Parents have been refused an interview with the board or any time of the board. And once again, some parents still don't know because it's say like, oh, the headmaster and a couple of teachers who push it all through and do it. And it's not till it's well and truly entrenched in there that it's thinking, oh, how, what's this? But there is no space for it in schools, oh God, there's just nowhere safe for children anymore, hence our rally, and I hope more rallies happen. But it's an incredible time to be alive where children aren't safe. Children have always been the most vulnerable throughout history, children and women. We are the vulnerable, and I believe that's why the TRAs have to bowl women out of the way so that they can get to the children. I don't know why they want to have eunuchs and sterilise all these children. That's a little bit beyond my understanding. But anyone in Wellington, we've got some fantastic speakers coming on. Apart from being nervous, I'm really excited. And we're having it out Parliament because it comes with security and fencing. So, I mean, I've had enough of being spat out and jostled and sworn out and screamed out and finger poked, and I've had enough of that. So it's great that it comes with security and fencing. Maybe there is a change on the wind. I don't really think so. I just think the system's going full steam ahead. I mean, the kids in care over here, we've had them climbing up on the roof. And they go, oh, it's for the KFC. It ain't for the KFC, mate. It's shit in there. These children are being sexually abused and physically abused. And there were fight clubs. And because it all got hushed up and everything, because we can't talk about that. So it's, state care. It's never, ever been a kindergarten, but it's even worse now with the rainbow infiltrating. I don't personally... Mana Wāhine Kōrero, we don't agree with social transition. That's just the beginning on that slippery slope. Having transition houses in poor communities is pretty abhorrent. Waitangiroa is where this house is, and there's an op shop that runs, and you can get all your makeup and clothes and all the auxiliary products and binding for young girls. None of it's harmless. None of it is harmless. This cult has just raced through everything like the billy-o. But as far as Kapi, whatever his name is, the new dude running OT, Oranga Tamariki, commissioned some report, another report. I mean, I'm sorry to be so cynical, but I just see this as another jobs for mates. Nothing changes that nothing changes. So, yeah, get to Parliament on the 31st, come and hear some speakers, and we've got an open floor time where you can speak as well. So, yeah, come and support and start standing up for children, because now more than ever they need us. The kids aren't okay. They are being severely brainwashed. They are being indoctrinated and they are being harmed, and they're not all right and they need us. So, Modi order.
Kia ora, Di. Thank you very much. And that's certainly, some really concerning things that you've been telling us about. And I wish you well for your rally at Parliament. I'm sure it will go really well.